So, how's Norman Osborn going to work as Peter's mentor? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, episode 3. And I could probably emphasize season 1, episode 3, because again, I believe I said this before, but seasons 2 and 3 are already greenlit. This season has done well enough with, I guess, like critic reviews and projections and stuff that they're already like set for a couple more seasons. That's pretty exciting. Um, Last time we had Peter starting his internship at Oscorp, and we got to see how well that went because the entire episode was about a hero work life balance and about Peter trying to figure out how to do that. Working as Spider Man, having his internship, and having a social life. All things that are very important to him and all things that he shouldn't have to waver on. But the problem is trying to get all of that done right, especially when he's leaving in the middle of his intern program and, causing trouble for Dr. Connors, who is just wonderful so far and so, like, kind and accepting, but also the other interns who are kind of getting chewed out for this all, too. Unfairly, mind you, but still. We also get to see how like it's continuing along with his friendship with Lonnie, his desired relationship with Pearl, his friendship and everything. Just all of this stuff is continuing to showcase as part of his life, and that's important. A good Spider-Man story focuses just as much on Peter Parker as it does on Spider-Man, because or Miles Morales or Gwen Stacy, whoever it is under the suit at the time. I'm specifically mentioning Peter here because he's the main Spider-Man, and that's who we're talking about right now. It focuses just as much as who's under the mask as the hero wearing it. Because that's always been Spider-Man's thing. And again, Spider-Woman, any version of this. Like, Spider-Man as a concept is a street-level hero who is an ordinary person given extraordinary abilities. And just insane amounts of pressure that come with that. And yeah, I mean, Peter and Miles and all of them are usually seen as gifted, but they're still mostly ordinary people. They can be very high tech with science knowledge and everything, but within realistic scopes. They're not like super powered in any way. They're real people, and they face real problems. A lot of times, Peter faces money problems, for example. He faces again the work life hero balance is a big thing with Peter, and we've even seen with Miles and others as well. And I love that because it allows Spider-Man as a character, or again Spider-Woman, etc., to feel more grounded than other heroes. You have all these other heroes who are like a lot more extraordinary, even in terms of intelligence and stuff. Like you have the Tony Starks of the world and everything. Then you have like super soldiers like Steve Rogers. Going to DC, you have heroes like Batman and Wonder Woman. And even though Batman's like, an ordinary guy with just extremely high martial arts training and money, he's still extravagant in terms of a lot of things, especially his money. Like he's able to do a lot because of that, but Peter doesn't have that. He has high intelligence. He's very tech savvy, but he still messes up and fails a lot, and there's a lot of things that go wrong and a lot of real life issues he has to deal with that others don't always do. And I like that. I mentioned that like Spider-Man was like my first hero and what is still one of my favorites, and I still stand by that. So I love seeing that stuff last episode. But at the end, we saw that Norman saw the security footage of Peter changing into his costume, and so he knows he's Spider-Man. So this is going to be interesting because we already know this is paralleling the main MCU timeline where Tony became his mentor. It's already a parallel to that. There's even scenes and music and stuff taken directly from Civil War used in the first episode. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this relationship goes. And especially considering it's kind of destined to go down a complete different path. Because if Norman does become the Green Goblin in this, he's going to know Peter's identity. Like I believe I said this last time. I don't think he would rat him out. But that would be interesting if he did. But I don't think he will. I think, like, they might do this where, like, him becoming the Goblin makes him crazy, sort of like in the Raimi films. And I wouldn't say forgets about Peter being Spider-Man, but just it's not on his mind and he's just, crazy. He's kooky. If they go that route, that could definitely work. Or maybe he just doesn't want to tell. Maybe because he ends up growing fond of Peter and his relationship with him, his connection with him, ends up being what saves that. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm definitely interested to continue to see these different storylines. I'm definitely interested to see where all the plot points go. And I just want to see more Spider-Man stuff. Because while I like the grounded hero work and the Peter Parker stuff, I also do just love the cool Spider-Man shit. Like, how can you not? And I want to see some more of the villains. There's definitely got to be more villains in this, and I'm definitely interested to see which ones we get to. I think this first 7 episodes are out now. I think the final 2 episodes come out tomorrow. I've been really good at avoiding spoilers, though, so I should hopefully be okay for this season. So I'm hoping that people are calm once the final 2 episodes do come out and aren't spoiling things too much. I'm going to do my best to avoid it like I've been with everything, but still. Sometimes things will slip through the cracks. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where this continues to go. So let's get into it and find out. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link in the description below to go to today's reaction, I want to take the moment to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 every day except Thursday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princessa Gaming channel. Every day of the week we have some awesome Let's Plays, we have streams, we have all kinds of great content. And please, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to like this video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get to today's video. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So yeah, there are definite parallels between Peter and Lonnie here. Both of them are joining in with an antagonistic force, and provided this goes in the same direction as we're expecting with Lonnie, considering who Lonnie is, we can see that things are probably going to head off in opposite directions for them. Peter's going to probably end up seeing how bad Norman is, or at least gets, as time goes on. And he's going to have to make the choice to leave his side, except this time I don't think it's going to be as respectful as it was in this episode. And Lonnie is going to work with this gang in place of his brother in order to save and protect him. And he's going to end up at some point, like, getting mutated or whatnot to become the Tombstone we know, and it's going to, cause him to be to continue down that path until he can't really do anything about it anymore, until he can't go back. It probably the mutation is going to be that turning point for him. So it's really interesting to show these two as parallels, because it's a very different experience than I expected. We got Peter finding out about Harry being Norman's son in this, but we didn't get any more of Harry yet. They're still building up to that, interestingly. Building up to his return, I guess. I mean, there's 10 episodes in the season, so there's definitely time to work with. I just want to hear more of Zeno Robinson, you know? Maria and Speed Demon, they were interesting. I don't know if they're characters from the comics. They probably are. I don't recognize them offhand by their names, but they were fun. They were interesting. I didn't recognize at all that was Ana Reese Quinones. Her voice roles have been very different. They're a great voice actor. I know them for things like playing Echidna in ReZero, Harriet in Ruby, and many other things. Ana Reese has been in a lot, especially nowadays. Like, they're becoming like a really big name in voice acting for the current generation. So is Zeno, though. Zeno is becoming bigger, and various others as well. Oh, Ana Reese was also in Dandadan. She was Muko, I believe it is, the friend of oh my God, Momo. Why was my mind blanking? I mean, it's been a little bit since I watched Dandadan, but still. Yeah, she's Muko, I believe. So there's that as well. Yeah, I really love seeing like this new generation of voice actors like starting to get roles all over the place. It's really cool to see. AJ Beckles is another big one in the current generation. Abby Trotz, speaking of Dan to Dan. So it's like, yeah, just a lot of great VAs here who deserve all the flowers. Um, I like I. It's weird to say, but I really like Norman so far. It's really weird, and mind you, I usually like him as a character, like especially in the like Raimi movies and No Way Home, where he's played by Willem Dafoe. Like, that's just because of Willem Dafoe, though. I really like this take on Norman, because he definitely has a fun side to him. He has a little bit of a goofy side to him, but he's also very well put together. And Coleman Domingo does a great job with the performance, because he can showcase the well put together and the goofier side as well. He feels human, and it's going to be interesting to see how his development into Green Goblin, again presuming that does still happen, how that goes down. Um, I really enjoy just the style of this. And I know that's been a bit of a divisive note for this series, because some people say it's like a little too weird and off. But I'm on the side that is like really impressed by it. It really feels unique and interesting. And I've talked about this before, on various videos, and I think maybe I might have mentioned it in one of these videos before, one of the first two episodes. But I really like stylization over just, high quality realism. I would rather a show's art style and animation style be unique and special to the series, rather than just trying to emulate whatever the highest quality art and animation is at the time. I feel like it gives it more of its own identity, and having this be very comic booky in its design, having very unique color work, very unique line work, And again, just the way characters move and emote and everything is so unique, so interesting. It really stands out. And that's, I feel, important. So I really love the visual style of this. All the voice acting is great. I mean, I've touched on that. Um, but I like the soundtrack too. The soundtrack just really works on pretty much all levels. There's a lot of fun creativity. There's definitely a lot of references, even to things I don't get, because I've mentioned before, like even like Pearl is a character from the comics who I don't know, but it's like there's a lot of like passion put into this. The creators of this, the designers, everyone who worked on this clearly has a passion for comics and for Spider-Man. And it really shows. And as someone who is a notable Spider-Man fan, um, I just really love seeing a series that has put its all into this. I really think that it shows, and I really like that there's so much effort. Because I've seen a lot of superhero shows, both animated and otherwise, and the best ones always feel like the creators understood the assignment. The best ones always feel like the creators are fans themselves who put forth all the effort into it. And that doesn't even just go for comic book adaptation. That goes for any adaptation. Like even if you're adapting manga or anime into live action, the reason why the One Piece live action was received so well was because like the creators are legitimate fans, and the actors became fans of the series once they started studying for it and everything. I think a couple of them were already. I know McKenyu was already a big fan of One Piece prior, but it's like they became fans, and so they put forth a lot of efforts into the acting, into the direction, into the writing. They wanted to make sure it captured the spirit of the original series, and it did. Even if some things were slightly changed, and because of the structure of a live action Netflix show, they had to cut quite a bit out and, you know, just streamline a lot. They made it work to the best of their ability because they were passionate, because they cared. And that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this. You have a crew that just really cares, really put forth that effort. And yeah, I think they succeeded, at least so far. And the fact that we already have seasons 2 and 3 greenlit is a good sign. And yeah, there are, of course, those people, those random idiots out there who are just bitching about it being woke and bitching about Harry and Norman's skin color being changed and um, Dr. Connors being turned into a woman of color and stuff. I sometimes question how people like this are real. How are you this, like, ridiculously terrible? It's cartoonish. But yeah, there are people out there like that for this series and for a lot of shows nowadays. And they're gonna still be there. They're gonna continue to like be outspoken and be very loud about it. But we basically should just ignore them to the best of our ability. Like speak out if they like get really bad, of course, but we shouldn't like give them the attention that they're so desperately seeking, because that's what they truly want. Because they know how we're going to answer. They have responses to our responses. So let's just not even answer. Right? Again, unless they say something incredibly heinous, in which case we kind of have a little bit of a duty to answer at that point. So, yeah. I really love what they're doing with this. All the new fresh ideas, the unique spins on this, the super creative concepts, and just the new way it's handling it all. It feels like Spider-Man. It feels very classic, but it also feels very new. It feels very fresh. It feels like something that we kind of needed. Because there's so much of, especially in the MCU and superhero fandoms, there's so many people who are obsessed with the past and refuse to let it go. So many people who are obsessed with, you know, doing things the same way as they've always been done and don't want to experiment or do anything fresh and exciting. And this is why so many people are like still so nostalgic for the early days of the MCU, and why so many people very loudly and aggressively say it's the best part of the MCU still, and that the MCU has gone downhill since. It's because they're afraid of change. It's because they're afraid of opening their minds up to something different. They enjoyed the early days of the MCU, and because of that, they don't want anything to be different. They want us to return to those days, to return to that style and everything, even though it doesn't work in 2025. It makes no sense to go back to that style because it's not something that would work from a storytelling, character, or visual perspective. Things have to change, especially in media. And so they had to update things in terms of how stories are told and whatnot. It's like, yeah, a lot of MCU projects nowadays aren't being received as well as they should or could. But to jot that up completely to just not living up to the original movies is dumb. There's a lot of reasons for it, such as the fact that not as many people go to theaters after COVID. After COVID times, the theater attendance has dropped drastically. That's also a reason why movies in general aren't doing so well comparatively. And the only ones that do really well are the movies that are like really hyped up. There's also some people who have superhero fatigue, who are just sick of the overabundance of superhero movies because of the MCU. It's not necessarily about the quality of the films. It's just that there's just too many superhero films now. And there are some people who just genuinely don't like a lot of the more modern stuff, and that's fine. But a lot of these people are also just saying this because they just don't want anything different. And a lot of these people definitely don't want anything quote unquote woke, because in their eyes that's bad for some reason, even though there's like no way to actually make that a negative, but in their eyes it is. It's a really interesting, really exciting prospect when things change, because it allows people who have already seen these kinds of stories to experience them in a whole new way that gets them excited about it again. I've seen many different Spider-Man stories, and I don't want just the same things. It's the same reason why like people complaining about like, oh, this series is being adapted, this game is being adapted. Why aren't they just following the original story? It's because we've seen it all. People are bitching about the new upcoming Until Dawn movie because the movie isn't following the plot of the game. We've seen the plot of the game. It's a narrative adventure game, so it's mostly narrative, it's mostly story in the first place. If you want the story of the game, just go play the game. We don't want the story of the game again. You shouldn't, at least, because it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be pointless to do it again. We don't need the same story. What we need is a new take on the same formula or a similar idea. That is how we should do adaptations nowadays. By updating things and giving a new take on it, where it's not just the same thing over and over again. Doing the same thing over and over and over again is boring. It's why a lot of Batman media nowadays doesn't bother telling the origin story anymore. We don't need to do that. We've heard it so many times. We don't want to hear the origin story again. It's just, I like it when things are done differently because it allows for a fresh perspective. And it allows for modern kids and stuff who are getting into it, in the case of stuff like this, to experience it in a way that befits them as well. Because the way this is presented definitely speaks to a modern young audience way more than, I don't know, Ultimate Spider-Man would, or or the Raimi trilogy. It's like, yeah, definitely the young kids and teens and stuff could still get into that stuff, absolutely. But it won't speak to them on the same level because it's made for people who were their age back in those days, in like the early 2000s and whatnot. So it's not going to appeal in the same way as something like this would, where this is made for their age now. And I mean all ages, but you get the gist. We got to take that into account as well. And again, I love how this is doing because it's very different. It's kind of a play on what happened in the MCU with Peter, with Tom Holland's Peter, but it's also very different. There's a lot of changes, and not just because of Norman instead of Tony. There's a lot of differences that make it super unique and interesting. Again, this is more what we should be doing with this kind of stuff. But either way, I'm just really excited to see more of this. This series has been fantastic. And it's actually being mostly really well received. So I'm happy about that as well. I'm happy I'm not the only one who loves it. It's just a very loud, obnoxious crowd speaking out against it. They're not a majority or anything. They're just very vocal. But yeah, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode, what you thought of like Norman teaming up with Peter, and the different kind of like fun interactions they had. What you think about Lonnie's dealing with the gang in place of his brother, all of this stuff. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.